This is a video I want to make for a while, and it's to talk about Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero. It's a game that in 1997 released, late 1997, the same month that Mortal Kombat 4 released, to kind of tie in with that game, released on PlayStation, the original one, and also the N64 a few months later. And this game has been given a bad rep by MK fans for a while, most of whom have obviously never played such an old title. I have finally last year figured out to emulate stuff on this very phone. So it's like I've been playing this game in optimal conditions. But I had so much fucking fun playing it. And it wasn't because I was recording a video series. I was just playing it and enjoying it. And I played through the whole thing. And I enjoyed it. Despite the criticism this game gets, and I think a lot of it is unjust or very subjective. And I want to get into a lot of that. I want to get to a lot about the game. I want to cover bits of the game itself to highlight stuff with the game, and also discuss a lot of the negative feedback. So I played the PlayStation version, and the key difference between this and the N64 version is the cutscenes in the N64 version are mostly just still images. Some where you see like little videos playing, but it's just like subtitles and stuff due to limitation, as you can see here. Whereas you have like the fully recorded cutscenes in the PlayStation version. Those cutscenes being really fucking cool and also really underrated, and I will be showing some of them because it helps contribute a lot to this game. You know, it makes it very special. From the story perspective, it gives it a lot of charm as well. I just really like it. Let's take a look at the PlayStation manual for it, shall we? You know, we'll brush through it a bit. And old game manuals are just really cool, especially the Mortal Kombat ones. You know, start with your options and stuff. Controller configuration, health stats, all that stuff. I won't bore you with it all. But you know, you've got this. Now this is important. Power-ups. You'll like learn special moves for Sub-Zero, and it's really cool because you have like a special meter thing for like charging your ice powers. So it requires some critical thinking on how you're going to use the abilities, what abilities you're going to use, when you're going to use them, and you have all the classic stuff and some extra things. You know, for example, you have your regular freeze, your freeze that you can direct, that's angle freeze. You have your slide, you have your air ice ability. Oh. Have ice shatter, ice clone, super slide. You know, like you just keep getting these extra upgrades. Stuff like freeze on contact. Someone touches you, they're frozen. Like you get all these really cool stuff, and his gameplay works as it does in the actual main games. Well, the original three, which is really cool. You know, it makes the playing game familiar for Sub-Zero fans because the movesets used to be consistent. Stop doing that. This goddamn PDF is supposed to be a professional looking video. And then you got your items. And there's an inventory in this game. And there's a lot of these items you can collect. Stuff like the herbal healer and herbal booster, which I don't even think it's called the herbal booster in the game, actually, but it's like this yellow version. It's a bigger one. You combine the healers to get like a stronger one. The vitality, that's for powers and stuff. You just got a bunch of stuff, which is really cool to have. And I like how you can combine things to make stronger stuff, like the herbal booster. My only criticism, because yeah, I'm going to be critical of the game, it's not perfect for obvious reasons. And a criticism of this is that if you die, you like, and you've used any of your items for your death, you lose them items. You don't restore them, even though like you can't then get them in the level again. So you just lose them, which is quite annoying. And again, that adds to the difficulty of the game. But yeah, we'll just keep moving down. Oh my god, this PDF does not want to work with me. We're leaving it in. We're leaving that in. He just got his items, you know? A lot of items and shit. Show invincibility, eye of invisibility, universal translator. I forgot about the universal translator. There's so many cool lore things and shit. Of course, you have Shinnok's amulet and whatnot. And look at all the information here. It's really cool. I'm not going to read it all out, but yeah, look how much attention to detail went in here. And it just covers everything you need, this manual, all the information you want. Look at this. It like gives you like all this information, this backstory, all here. And it shows you the elemental gods. God of Wind, Fusion, the God of Earth, God of Fire, God of War, Scorpion. It talks about the connection between the Shiryu and the Lin Kuei, Scorpion and the Ninja here. And yeah, it's really interesting. It's the only time where the Shiryu and Lin Kuei, like rivalry stuff, has had some actual depth to it. There's been some actual like interesting bits of info about it, and it's made sense. You know, like the biggest, the most popular rivalry in MK has been shit in the main games. It's never been told well. You know, like the recent games have just made them allies. MK2 made Kuai Liang and Scorpion allies. This Sub-Zero in this game is Bihan, his brother, which is quite cool because it's not like it means the pick for this game isn't like a generic character like, oh, Sub-Zero's popular, Sub-Zero. They chose the elder Sub-Zero, who is dead in the games, which is interesting, because this is before Noob Saibot was considered to have any connection to Sub-Zero. That wasn't a thing until 2004, Deception, which follows up on some really cool interactions with Bihan and Quan Chi that then make, which like it elevates so much by like the self-deception person. The 3D era feels it cares about this stuff, you know, like it carries over. This is the best story MK had at this point by far, and I think it's the best game overall because I'm going to be honest, I don't think any of the original trilogy games have aged well. Or I think MK4 has aged poorly as well, admittedly. This is the only one that I think has stood the test of time, even though critics back in the day would say this is already outdated, which is wild. And there's obviously some datedness to it. But yeah, it's really good. And at the end here, and Crunchy on the back, shout out to him, and I didn't even need to zoom in on him. But yeah, there's a bunch of lore, you know, like another thing that 3DR ends up following up on is the relationship of Shang Tsung and Quan Chi, which they established themselves at the time of MK3. They just tie into so much in just this spin-off game that focuses on a character of not much importance, admittedly, to the overall story, but they managed to make things connect in a way that doesn't feel forced. It's really cool. So with Shang Tsung and Quan Chi, you have the loose alliance between Outworld and the Netherrealm, but you know it's not a simple alliance. Shao Kahn obviously has plans of taking over all the realms. Shinnok obviously is aware of this, and Shinnok is waiting for when Shao Kahn's going to turn him. But also Shinnok has his own plan simultaneously to attack basically whoever is the victor of Outworld or Earthrealm. Albeit he attacks all the realms, but obviously only one's really a target. If Shao Kahn conquers Earthrealm, that's fine for him. That just like takes out one target for him taking over all the realms. Shinnok has his own interesting way of doing it, in the sense that he's not merging the realms, because he's a fallen elder god. He knows merging the realms awakens the one being. His amulet he made to help fight against the one being, and it's like the source of his power and shit. And of course, modern stuff like Battle of the Realms will forget about it and just have Shinnok be generic and go and just copy Onaga's shit and go, okay, I'm collecting the Kamidogu, I'm going to merge the realms. And then he becomes the one being. Terrible movie, of course. But yeah, Quan Chi and Shang Tsung, they meet up because, this alliance. And there's a deal between the two on behalf of their masters. Shang Tsung, and this is some really cool lore here, because he took the soul of the great Kung Lao, he knows the whereabouts of the map to the Temple of Elements, which is kept in a Shaolin temple. So he has the memories of Kung Lao, so he knows where it is, he knows what the map is, and he's willing to pass on this information if the Netherrealm side agrees to give Sindel's soul to Khan, so that then they can do a resurrection of her, which is really cool. It's very clever. I think there's like stuff that kind of like contradict the soul stuff, but it makes sense still. It makes sense. It's cool. And then obviously Deadly Alliance, those are the two main villains, so it's cool to have like pre-established connections between the two. But because Quan Chi's never been a Shang Tsung clone, he's just played off strengths. There's no MK character that's been a clone of a character. You have, like, nowadays, you have stuff like Kano, who just, like, will take aspects of Su Hao's character, and then people go, oh, Su Hao copied Kano, even though it's the other way around. People were dumb. That's why this game's not popular, because people were dumb. They have bad taste. I have good taste. There's a lot to discuss. You got stuff like that, which isn't in the game itself, but you have this stuff on the manual here, and you have the website itself, which has been lost to fucking time, which gives you a ton of lore. For example, Scorpion is, we know why he's with the Show Ryu, thanks to the Mythologies website. You gain all this information. You know about, like, the grandfather Sub-Zero because of the information on the Mythologies website, which has been lost to fucking time until MK11, Deception and Conquest, sort of, because in terms of the continuity, the Sub-Zero has to be the Elder Sub-Zero. And by Elder, I mean, like, the very Elder one, not beyond. But also, at the same time, it's not really addressed which Sub-Zero it is, so that could just be a nice coincidence for a continuity error there, which Conquest admittedly has a lot of them. So I don't know. But yeah, it's always been this canon bit of information, and there's so much. Like all this is relevant, all this is important, all this is cool, but it's all been like lost information because people dismissed this game, even though it's huge. It's hugely important to MK lore. This is like John Tobias' fucking magnum opus. I don't like John Tobias. I'm glad he left the company. I don't think the 3D era, like as a story, despite its flaws, it would not have been anywhere near as good as it was if John Tobias had stuck around. He's not like this story savior we need, because he would intentionally leave stuff as mysterious with seemingly no actual plans on what the revelation would be for a lot of them, except like Reiko. But the revelation for that was bad. It was going to be Shao Kahn reincarnated. That's fucking dumb. So yeah, like this is by far his best like storytelling. And if you don't believe me, look at this. The website had just like so many things for just the story, which didn't even have to be relevant to mythology. There's just some new exposition and shit. There is so much lore. Yeah, I'm not going to cover it all here, but there's a lot that's been lost, and I do plan to do a video covering like these old websites and all the information, all the lore that's been lost and hasn't really been recovered, and any site like the MK Wiki doesn't have all the information I presented and stuff like that. But there's a lot. There really is a lot. But you know, who you watch, want to read through some of it. You know, you got the Neverrealm lore here, like Samus and Lucifer and stuff. But it's also in the manual, can be glossed over. You know, and not stuff that's in the games, but canon lore that comes by extension of mythology, so it's worth discussing. You know, including the Outworld stuff, of course. The Lin Kuei stuff, which, by the way, be honest, being called a ninja because the Lin Kuei breed ain't ninjas. You know, it's not some dumb ideology that assassins and ninjas are different, which is what people think it is. Like no, it actually makes sense here. You know, and there's actual charm to being called ninja because Richard DeVizio Quan Chi is so fucking charming and such a fun villain. The most fun villain MK has ever had. We'll get to that. And then the ninja stuff, which, you know, talks about, like, Hanzo's father. Talks about why he's in the Lin Kuei. He's doing it for money so he can afford, like, his wife and child. Nice things, you know. He's just a greedy motherfucker. You know, like, this is all really cool information. Shout outs to my bestie, CDR, for finding this stuff on the website, which, again, I want to look more into these websites, probably for a video, as I said. But yeah, we're just glossing over some things, you know. There are a lot more than what I've just brought up. I've just, like, briefly glossed over something. So yeah, there is a ton of information out there that comes from Mythologies Sub-Zero, which is why it's such a great game for its story, its lore. It's not... It's the lore, the attention to detail here, has not been in an MK game ever, except for the 3D era games. I'd probably say this surpasses Armageddon in terms of its care for the lore. Because Armageddon, you know, they just didn't explain most of the characters. Half of it's not their fault, don't get me wrong, but because they had to rush the game out. They even try making bios post-release on their website. You know, that's how much MK used to care, that's how much Midway used to care. That, you know, they use their websites to establish lore that wasn't even present in the games. Yeah, that's how much I cared. But yeah, you know, it happened when Warner Bros. Fucking showed up with their dick out and said, hey, you work for me now. But you know, there's so much, and there's so much stuff within the game itself to talk about. Like, this is just a bit of just general lore that this game decides, hey, we're just going to bring it up in our manual on our website, because why the fuck not? We care about our lore. That's what MK used to be. You used to care about having continuity. You used to care about its lore. You cared about, like, the history and stuff it was taking inspiration from. And just everything like that. And that's why it's so charming. No, apologies. But it's just caring to so many things. When it's just a spin-off about fucking Sub-Zero. They give us all this information. It is crazy. It's really impressive and really commendable. So, yeah, where Mythologies falls for me is I'm obviously a big 3D era nerd. Those are my favourite MK games. That's the peak of the franchise as far as I'm concerned. It's all downhill with MK9 and MK vs. DC. I'm not counting MK vs. DC as 3D era. 3D era I consider the trilogy of Deadly Alliance, Deception, Armageddon, because that's on the same engine. So, yeah. Right after that comes Mythologies. This is genuinely my fourth favourite game in the entire franchise. And that's not just from a story standpoint, that is just, as a whole, I really fucking enjoy this game. And it's sure to get more, because, fun fact, you know, John Tobias wanted to do more of this Mythology series, specifically mentioning Shadow Monks, which we did get, albeit they did not care about the story in that one, and also, honestly, the gameplay in Shadow Monks is fucking dog shit. This is the better spin-off. This is the much better spin-off. This is the one that deserves, like all the respect. Not Shadow Monks. You know, people talk about that game so much, and it's not that great. That's probably another video. I remember I did a video where I first played it, and I was like, hey, Shadow Monks is fucking dog shit. You just fight the same enemies for a whole level. Boring. Mythologies has so much more variety and uniqueness. Attention to detail. Just so much. And another one that I found interesting when I was Baraka. Old Baraka is really weird because this is pre-Tarkata Baraka. Tarkata's was a deception thing. The amount of lore that comes from the 3D era that people just think has just always been a thing is absurd. That's why Mythologies is such a big help, because it does give us a lot of information that comes pre the 3R, which is where like we really get some proper depth to the story and stuff. MK4 kind of tries, and in some ways it succeeds. You have like some actually interesting characters. Like Shinnok, Quan Chi, newcomers there. Jarek, I think, is a standout newcomer from a story perspective, despite what people want to say. Like a Black Dragon member trying to like who is like reasonable and willing to help the heroes. And then he gets fucked over by Jax, and that turns out to be canon. Weird, but yeah, I digress. There's a lot of lore. There's a lot of lore and a lot of forgotten lore. Jarek's lore is forgotten as fuck, but Jarek's not relevant to Mythologies. But yeah, it's definitely my fourth favorite game. It's my favorite non-3D era game. Just as a whole, I really like it. So, yeah. Before I waffle on, I think it's time we get started. Let's discuss the options. let's slow down. We got more to talk about. The options, you have like some difficulty stuff. You have these code things, and it's relevant for something we're going to discuss here. You can enter codes to immediately to a level. There are multiple levels in this game. Each took me like around an hour to complete. Like it's quite lengthy. It's a lot faster if you're not shit at the game. I play it on like easy difficulty, I think. A weird limitation is that easy or lower difficulty, there's 5 difficulties. MK used to have like the 5 big difficulties. Actually, it still does, to be fair. They just changed some of the namings between games. But yeah, you have easy or the lowest one, which I assume is novice. I can't remember. Then you can't do any of the Neverland levels. So this game is like a really cool way of splitting it up. You have the first half of the game is going for the temple elements and stuff. Just temples in general. If you want to count the first level, the Shaolin Temple, which we'll briefly cover. There's not much to talk about that level. It's main stuff afterwards. But yeah, you start with the Shaolin Temple. Then you got 4 of the the 4 different temples in the Temple of Elements. Then you go to the Netherrealm to retrieve Shinnok's amulet, and that's like the other half. You have, I believe, number 4 levels there. But yeah, you need to be on medium difficulty or higher to access them. Luckily, you have the code, so when it says, "Oh, you need to replay the game at a high difficulty," which is a pyramidal thing, at least you can just change difficulty and then just enter a code, and you're fine. So, did the codes definitely help alleviate the frustrations that I would have with this game? Like, you have a life system, right? And I don't like the life system. I think it's unnecessary, because you lose all your lives. I'm pretty sure you have to start the entire game again. It might be start a level. I'm not actually sure, because I did not play the game with the lives. I used the code, which when activated, it just permanently affects the next save you start, where you just have infinite lives. And that is much better, because you don't have to like restart your shit for no reason. So if you are going to play the game, I'd recommend using codes to help you out. Those 2 in particular. There's some other stuff, but those are the 2 that are like actually like fair. If you get like some of the BS from this game, you can still enjoy the game normally and have the normal difficulties without like the unnecessary BS. But yeah, let's get into it. And you start with the Shaolin Temple, where you find Shaolin monks, and as you can see in the top left, you do have the live system, which I believe just stays at like a number. I can't remember. It might be an infinite level. I don't know. But you got your health, which is in red at the moment because taking a lot of damage, and you don't heal naturally. You need to use like your healer things, which has a limited supply. So that's a difficult thing, but it's manageable, And also your special meter thing, which is in blue. Yeah, here are all the Shaolin monks. They've got like a variety of weapons. They all fight differently between these 2, and they're like recurring enemies, like the first half until you get to the Netherrealm levels. Yeah, they're cool, and they're avoidable, because it's like a platform. You meet an objective, so you can just skip past a lot of them. you have a lot of options on how to handle situations, which is really cool. And again, it does make things a lot easier having options, you know. So yeah, of course, in the Shadow Temple, these are your regular enemies. I don't think you have any with the weapons. I could be wrong. But yeah, the boss, once you get to the end, you first see Scorpion at star level, where he's taunting you, he's trying to race you to the map, he's being an arrogant motherfucker, because Scorpion, not a great dude, you know. You have the people who say, oh, Bihan's a villain, and now this is a discussion thing, right? It's clearly the 2021 live action movie, which portrays Bihan as a pure villain, and then Scorpion as just some innocent guy who can't his family. Even though he was part of a ninja clan which does the same crime as the Lin Kuei, they just have like they're probably just shittier really because you know like the Lin Kuei does like some fucking honor there. Their grandmaster's a shithead, but you know the actual members memorable. You know like I'd say Bihan in this game comes across as a lot more of a better dude than Scorpion. You know, keep in mind, being a Spectre, you're still yourself. That's how it used to be before, like, it kind of got muddled around MKX, I'd say. I mean, halfway through MK9, Scorpion just loses... he just completely loses his own fucking identity. He just, like, hangs with Quan Chi for half the game. But yeah, that's whatever. MKX, he treats him like he's just the same as a Revenant. That's not how Spectres work. I mean, now in, like, games like fucking Onslaught, he's being called a Wraith. That's how bad this franchise is. Noob is the only Wraith in the franchise. But yeah, whatever, NRS. You know, that's how little they care about continuity. It's so fucking bad. But yeah, Scorpion turns into a Spectre. He's just kind of an asshole. He's the one who challenges Bihan to a fight. You know, he's kind of waiting in a room for you and shit. He's just a cocky fucker, you know? Bihan's just trying to do his job. Scorpion, of course, is also trying to do his job, you know? Scorpion seems to have more of a choice though, like he could escape his life. He chose the life from being a ninja. Bihan, on the other hand, and this is not MK9 original lore, this actually also comes from Mythologies, the lore of Kuai Liang and Bihan, you know, being forced into the Lin Kuei. I think the circumstances are a bit different. I won't particularly get into it. But basically, yeah, they were forced to be Lin Kuei, and obviously you escape, you try to escape from the clan, they find you, they fucking kill you. Or capture you. I don't know. With the Simon initiative going on, you'll probably get captured and then turn into a fucking robot. So, yeah, Bihan doesn't have much of a choice, does he? You know, it doesn't seem like he has any interest in leaving, of course. But there's a stark contrast there between someone who's been forced into this lifestyle and Scorpion here, whose father, yes, he was a ninja, but he did not want Hanzo to become a ninja. You know, so it's not like he ever had like a parental influence. He was actively being discouraged from following his lifestyle, and he chose not to because he wants money. So yeah, who's the real asshole there? Because it's not Bihan. It's really not. I'm not saying Scorpion's the villain, you know, but both of these are in this grey area of morality. You know, they're both redeemable. It's not just Scorpion. And, you know, when you become a Spectre, you're still kind of yourself. You're still half responsible for your actions. All that being a Spectre seems to do is make you angrier, you know. You're basically just a fucking rage addict, you know. And, like, when you look at Armageddon Scorpion, he's completely fine in his own selfishness to let the fucking world burn from Armageddon. Meanwhile, Bihan turns into a Wraith. He turns into a new cyborg, who is nothing like Bihan. He is a completely corrupted character. He does not have soul. He does not have, like, his own free will. Well, he's not like a puppet, you know, when his master dies. He also works with Shao Kahn randomly. I'm not sure. That was random. It doesn't really make sense at all, but he does help Shao Kahn at one point. Even after, like, Shinnok's defeated. So it's not like there's a relationship there. He's just helping out because Shinnok told him to. It's part of MK Tournament Edition, which is the GBA port data on it. That's a whole thing. But yeah, New Saga is not Bihan. They're completely different. It's not the same person. It has no semblance on it. It's just he's been corrupted. unwillingly, of course, because he was murdered by Scorpion. So again, that's because of Scorpion's actions. So yeah, Scorpion's a real shithead in comparison. So I think it's time we stop having Scorpion play a fucking victim card, because that's not what a character is. That's not what Bihan's character is. Let's get it right, can we? But yeah, have a boss fight anyway, and it's quite cool because Scorpion also has like his typical moveset, I believe. So it's kind of like you're just having a regular Mortal Kombat fight, which is neat. And then when you beat, he's quite easy to beat. You know, this is a space tutorial level. Something I do like is how you jump straight into the action here with the first level, which is really cool. It's a good speed running game as well, I found. I'm too bad at it to do speed runs myself, but I think speed running in MK is a fucking lost art. Anyone who speed runs the game plays the Midway games. There is not really any appeal to playing any of the NRS games, and I guess MK vs DC too. But that's more so no one cares about MK vs DC, and rightfully so. Fuck that game. I'm not going to defend that game. But I will defend Mythologies. And yeah, and then you get like the finishing thing, and you can do the fatality. You can do like the spine rip thing, which I believe is the same input as in the actual game, which again is quite charming. Or you can just spam, you know. And that will change something later on. And something that I like with these option things, it makes it like a cool like secret thing if you do the fatality. But obviously it's easy to just avoid them, and the game becomes easier if you don't be a murderer. Now, of course, Bihan does kill Scorpion. Now, the thing is, like, a gameplay perspective, he kills. Canonically, he does kill Scorpion here. He does kill him. I know Scorpion does not die at the Shirai attack. He's busy doing this job, you know, because he's not with his family. He's away. He's doing all this, like, shared work for assholes like Quan Chi. Quan Chi contracts both of these guys, and they have a little race, because Quan Chi just wants to have some fun, you know. He's like, okay, let's see who does it quicker. So yeah, but and we'll get to why the fucking Shirai's wiped out anyway. Later on, why Quan Chi does it, because it doesn't really have a reason anymore. MK9 gives like half a reason, but it's a shitty one. And you know, MK Legends, Quan Chi does it just because MK Legends is really bad with the storytelling. Like, really awful, you know. Fuck Jeremy Adams, for God's sake. So yeah, we are keen on some gameplay stuff. I don't think like he just like has like in canon. I don't think like Beyond like has him like on his fucking knees and then rips it off. That's just unrealistic. But yeah, through this conflict, we don't know the specifics. But yes, Bihan does kill Scorpion. And again, Scorpion started this fight, you know? So it's not like Bihan just went out of his way to murder a motherfucker. He got on his way while he was on the job, and he paid for it. It's not great. It's not a great look. But again, you're looking at a grey area here. Redeemable characters who are in some shady business right now, but they can get out of it. And then he gets the map, you know? And also, Scorpion doesn't have his bio powers yet because he's not a Spectre. That's why Bihan beats him, because he has ice powers, so presumably that naturally gives him an edge. But also we do see later on that Bihan can beat Spectre Scorpion anyway, so that kind of they kind of become equals in the power scaling afterwards, I suppose. I don't know. But yeah, once beaten, you know, Bihan meets up with the Ling Wei Grandmaster, and he's characterized brilliantly in this one, so it's the only time he gets any proper characterization, really. He doesn't have an official name, but Defenders of the Realms Grandmaster, who is a completely different Grandmaster. It's weird. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, he's called Anira, so a lot of people call this guy Anira in the red. He's Sector's father. Quite interesting because he's a manipulative son of a bitch, and he's quite important, you know, when you put a big focus on the Scorpion, like tragedy stuff. It's Anira who's responsible for it. It's this Grandmaster guy. The reason Quan Chi wipes out the clan, as we find out in this scene, is because that's the payment for the work. Getting the map, the Quan Chi repays Lin Kuei by just killing the entire clan. Because Quan Chi doesn't give a fuck. It doesn't matter to him. He'll do whatever. He can do it. He can murder motherfuckers. Quan Chi is very powerful. And yeah, it's really cool. You see Grandmaster Nero there. He's holding the skull of the Shiryu Grandmaster. So he's an absolute menace. I love him, and he needs to be focused on more. It is insane how ignored the characters become. It's so unfortunate. But yeah, I'm going to show you the fucking scene because these scenes are brilliant.
Grandmaster, in honor of the Lin Kuei, I bring you this sacred map of elements.
Once again, our most cunning assassin and thief is successful. At ease, Lin Kuei warrior.
Greetings. I see the ninja has been successful in retrieving my map, as I have foreseen.
Let's get something straight. I am not a ninja. I am Lin Kuei. Scorpion was a ninja.
Ah, yes, your Japanese counterpart. How unfortunate that you happened upon him in your battle with those pesky Shaolin monks.
Scorpion was tipped off. He knew I was breaking into that temple, and if he wasn't there, there wouldn't have been a battle. You are responsible for this sorcerer.
Well, I've also retained Scorpion's services. In case you failed, I needed some assurance.
Your peace of mind almost cost me this mission.
Enough! Quan Chi, tell me, what about our payment?
Oh yes, I almost forgot. The bones of your arch nemesis and leader of Scorpion's ninja clan.
Our ancient foes, vanquished in one transaction.
And I've personally made certain that every last remnant of their clan has been eliminated. Forever.
You see, Sub-Zero, you can trust a sorcerer sometimes. Now, you will use this map on your next mission. Quan Chi has once again retained your services.
This map you stole. It shows the way to a temple which predates man's recorded history on Earth. For thousands of years, the Temple of Elements has been hidden in what is now known as the Himalayan Mountains of Nepal. This map is the only evidence of its existence.
Fine. I get to the temple, and then what? What's inside?
A small amulet. Worthless to you, but let's just say it has great sentimental value to me.
If it is so precious, why don't you get it yourself?
I cannot enter the temple until the four elements within its walls have been defeated. And I am not on the best of terms with the gods of your realm, especially your god of thunder.
Tell me about these elements.
They are the four elements which comprise the very existence of your realm. They are earth, wind, water, and fire. With your mastery of the element of cold, you have an advantage that no other human has, and that is the ability to defeat the elements. I have foreseen this.
So yeah, you see the entrance to the Temple of Elements here, and that transition into Temple of Elements levels. It's a phenomenal cutscene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the entire franchise. All the actors do a great job. Richard DeVizio as Quan Chi, especially, making the villain Quan Chi very fun. He's the most fun villain in the franchise, as far as I'm concerned, and his most fun portrayal is definitely here. And there's a lot to unpack in that interaction. It's good setup for what they're doing. You get a lot of information that all makes sense. Bihan is pretty pissed off they had to fight Scorpion. He doesn't want to fight him. He doesn't want to kill people. He's not going to do it unless necessary. Which, logically, of course, the battle between Scorpion and Sub-Zero would have to lead to that. You can spare him, which leads to another interaction, which we'll get to later, as another fantastic cutscene has been quite forgotten. This one's probably the most memorable cutscene in Mythologies, and rightfully so. It's brilliant. You got an hero doing an evil laugh, and and you can see Bihan in his eyes. He's like, "What the fuck? That's messed up." It's like he's happy with that, you know. He's gonna move on. He's gonna keep doing his job, but yeah, he's not. He's not like in support of that. That's just Quan Chi and Amira being evil bastards doing that. When we talk about like the whole "sure are you" being white, I think we always point the blame at specifically Quan Chi, but Sector's dad is more responsible, arguably, because he commissioned for it. Quan Chi was just doing it because business. Ain't nothing personal, kid. So actually, Scorpion's target should really be an arrow once he finds that out. But hey, modern MK's dumb, ain't it? You gotta have a focus on that. By the way, Quan Chi is a demon. He can't die, which is something established here. A demon dying, they will just reform here. But yeah, all demons are native here. I was going to say if they're native, but that seems to be the case for all the demons here in this game. Which we don't find out with this game specifically, but something to do with this game. Reveals it later. So yeah. So there has to fight the Wind God, Earth God, Water God, and Fire God to get to the amulet, which ends in the Fire Temple in the order I mentioned. You start fighting Fujin, and the Wind Temple is where shit really gets so difficult. There is a lot of challenge here. Now, this game is a beat-em-up action-adventure platformer. You know, keyword for this level is platformer. You'll have some platforming obstacles here, and I think the platforming is actually solid. It's kind of become infamous because, you know, videos, commentaries on this game, that's usually their go-to for things to shit on. And usually their example are the windmills on the Wind Temple. For example, you get these assholes who just like do fucking videos about it, and it's like, haha, it's bad. When actually, if you play it and you're fucking competent, you'll learn that the windmills are not difficult. They're really not. You need to figure out a timing thing it's not the easiest thing in the world, don't get me wrong. I can get why people get frustrated by it, but it's not some impossible, ridiculously absurd thing. You just need to get the timing right. It's a skill issue. It is literally a fucking skill issue. It baffles me how people are so mad about it. Now, most of the platforms are these still platforms. Some of them like crack and stuff, so they need to be like quick before they fall, which is cool. You know, there's a lot of variety to it. But each like temporary is very unique. They're quite funky. Like this one's kind of on the open. I don't know what the temple element specifically looks like, but these are all part of the temple elements. And each quarter is really unique. So each level feels completely different, even though they're all set in a temple environment. You also have the monk enemies. These ones have enemies and have weapons, sorry. And they do show up on the platforms. Because a lot of it is on these platforms. And yeah, there's some difficulty there. You know, I'm showing you. These on the windmills, but these are nothing that move around. You just, you know, you do your jumps, you time them right. You get to do the next stop. By the way, there's these really funny death things. I'll show that. And there was a specific goal for these, you see here, and it will just say which are elements relevant to the temple. You get these 3 icons, and it gives you access to like a teleporter thing, which will take you to the next area of the temple elements. And then obviously it ends with the Fire Temple, which at the end does actually have the amulet itself. You just need to go through the others to get to the teleporter that takes you to the fire section. But at the end of this, because I won't cover these specific levels in depth, I'll mention some notable things and show you some stuff. But each one ends with a boss, and the boss being the elemental god relevant to. Here you have Fujin. You know, it's a pretty neat boss fight. It does, you know, take on turns. It's a difficult one. I'd say it's the second hardest one, and that's a discussion thing with the design. I don't know if it was intended to get hard as you go along or what, but I don't agree with the order. Because I think Fujin as a boss is the second hardest one behind the Earth God, and the Earth God is quite bullshit. I will admit. We'll talk about that. I have a video of the boss fight for. I have a video for the boss fight of the other ones. I don't for Fujin. You can look up all this stuff. Of course, you look through playthroughs and whatnot. But it's quite cool because he flies around and stuff. Does stuff you expect from Fujin. And it's cool with his cape. I like it. Refers to it as just a wind god here. But yeah, there's a strategy to stopping him and whatnot. Yeah. And yeah, it takes a while, but you beat him. You can beat him. He's not undefeatable. There's a strategy. There's always a strategy. Whether you think it's a cheese strategy or not, there's always a way to beat him. But you beat him, you get to the portal right after. The teleporter. Now, this one, you already tell from just a screenshot that there's much difference. It's got a monk enemies. You got some new obstacles. Like you can see in the bottom left, there's this hole. Some of them are just there straight away. Some of them open up. And they can sometimes have some good things inside. Some loot you can collect. Other times, there are spikes down below. And there's some other things like crushers and stuff. These traps you can push enemies into. And yeah, they can give you a lot of trouble, these traps. But again, they are very over. People complain about them too much. There's always a strategy for getting past them. There's always some method, and I don't need a tutorial for any of it. There's one bit that I needed a guide for. One very specific thing that comes up later on. And by the way, you notice a lot of the critical videos and reviews about these games. They always show footage of the temple stuff, meaning they just didn't progress through the entire game, or very far away. They didn't get through the first half. So yeah. Just turn your difficulty down, man. But yeah, obviously the beaming of this is very different. They're not very different. The goal is still the same, just get the other things. But obviously your way going around it's very different. We've got the same formula, which is really cool. Like this one's more of an interior thing. Like it's really nice. How design. I like how they have like background blending in with the digitalized stuff. It's done really well in this game, and I think it's quite polished. I think the graphics for time are quite good. I've seen reviews one time saying it's already dated, but I think that's because it's immune to like the 3D looks. In terms of like going back now, it's like it's a good blend. In some of the cutscenes, it doesn't look the greatest, but the cutscenes are great anyway, so it just adds to the charm. I think. So yeah, this is what I looked like when I was playing it. This is on my channel, me facing the Earth God. And yeah, he's a big boy, he's really cool. Doesn't have a name, unfortunately, because besides Fujin don't have a name. And they don't really appear since. But this guy's cool, he has like a variety of attacks as well. But this one, you definitely like, your strategy needs to be more like tuned in. Now, behind him, you can like slide through his legs, it's quite cool. And you can get like this, pull on this chain thing, and it drops his platform onto him, which you need later to go up. But he used it to it takes like half his damage. For this, I didn't use it, which yeah shows you have a variety of methods. But and this was easier for just because of like how he counters stuff. I found like the way to do it was you do run at him, you do a roundhouse kick, they jump in, do a jumping kick, then you jump back, and yeah, you just alternate between the two, and yeah, you defeat him. So yeah, not the smoothest boss fight. I like how he explodes, of course, as a boss. But yeah, it was fun. It took me a while, and it was satisfying to beat. And again, you do have like stuff like pulling on that chain thing. There are other strategies for it, There's always a tactic for beating it. This one was actually one of the more bullshit ones. And there is one that is especially bullshit, I will concede. But yeah, you can do it. You can find a method for basically anything. It's about strategizing for stuff. Even the strategy is complete BS. Like this is definitely not like great, but I think it's just general datedness. This isn't like a standout thing as an issue for this game. It's just how games were at the time, where you have these bullshit bosses. You know, I quite like this one, this game specifically, because yeah, you do have like tactics that will like increase the likeliness of you getting a win. So yeah, it's not that bad, not bad at all. You know, I think it's just a general issue at the times, not an issue with this game specifically. But that's just me. But yeah, after you go a bit, it doesn't end straight away. Actually, where you beat this boss specifically. But yeah, you eventually get the things you need, and you go to the water temple, which is next. And the water temple, it looks cool. It's kind of like some like sewer vibes and stuff. Not that it's sewer water or anything. Also, the water god is like my favorite boss. He's really cool. Like how like the animations and shit. How he is literal water and like he evaporates and stuff when you punch him. Like if you punch his head, it disappears. You know, you sound like a flashing effect. It goes away. He's the easiest of the elemental gods I found, just because yeah, his weakness is being frozen, which you know, someone specializes in that. Just, but yeah, he does some cool attacks like that. He does like some jumping one. I had to use a heal there, you know. I think I beat him like the second try. It didn't take me long. The one definitely wasn't BS. The level itself is a bit of challenge. You can get quite lost. It's kind of like a maze. But I like the feeling of it. I do think that the actual level design wasn't the greatest. And it's mainly because of what you see here. This like section where you got like this middle well with a rope. It repeats a lot, and the area itself is kind of like similar. They just kind of copy paste this for like 3 different areas. None of the different floors are like all identical. It can just get confusing and quite repetitive. And the rope climbing animation is quite it's not fast. It's not that fast, and it can take a while. And a lot of times we have these enemies. The enemy placement is different, so it's not like copy paste the same thing each time. It's just the layout can get a bit repetitive and confusing, especially after a while. They can just knock you down, you die. It's a bit irritating, I will admit. It wasn't my favourite level, but I did enjoy the boss, and I didn't find it particularly difficult, just a bit annoying. It's probably one of the weaker levels, I will admit. Now, the fire demo's really cool, especially aesthetically. Again, very unique, and a purple. And the red stuff, the grounds like fire quite a lot, and you like drain your health when you step on it. It's something you have to brush through a lot, and you got like these platforms, of course. The previous 2 levels don't have much platforming. This one brings back like big platforms to jump over and stuff, and I quite enjoyed it. I think I beat it. Like I got to the boss without any deaths. So again, I don't think it was that hard. In comparison to the other ones, like it's still a challenge in all the levels, but yeah, it's weird because I do think the first two elemental temples are a lot harder than the latter 2, which is strange. Maybe they should reverse the order. I don't know. But yeah, it's really cool. And there's a lot of different areas. I just like this one the most. You kind of like rush through it when you got like the fire going on and stuff. There's a lot of quite strong monk enemies. I think there's one that like teleports a lot and shit goes invisible and stuff. I think that's one of the types. I could just be making shit up. I could have just been on an acid trip throughout this whole fucking level. I don't know. But yeah, it's a crazy level. And it's a lot more enjoyable than the water one, I will say. It really picks up, and there's a lot more variety in the design. Now, the fire god here looks cool. He actually evaporates your ice attacks, which I suppose was the intent to make him see like the most formidable threat, because you can't freeze them. But also, you couldn't freeze the earth god anyway. It's quite cool. So you have to just use strikes. The slide, I feel, is like ideal. I mean, yeah, I do use it here. Where you just gotta get up close all the time, and then obviously do your slide to make distance, I feel. This one was quite difficult. It took me a bit. I was saying my arms. Oh, and this is a gameplay flaw I can discuss. You need to press L2 to switch sides, and yeah, I do agree that's kind of annoying. but I kind of get why it is that way, because you have enemies on like different sides, you know. So a lot of the time, they're not gonna know which one you're gonna focus on. I think at the time this was the best way of handling it. But yeah, it can be quite annoying if you're like switching and stuff. But it's not the end of the world. But yeah, as you can see, you do like the ice ball there. It just evaporates. And it has like that cool throw and a cool teleport. Again, the moves are really cool. You see the amulet in the background. It's quite dope. And it got quite intense here. I might have used a heal. I can't remember. I slide away. That was an accident again because of switching side thing. So again, it's not perfect. I do like that burning ramp thing. The animations of them are so cool and stuff. The boss fights are all unique. And yeah, this was another fun one. The Earth God was the only one that felt like really cheap BS. But yeah, that is that. And then that takes you to another cutscene. I'm going to show you the cutscene because I fucking love these cutscenes. Let's go.
The amulet! I have Shinnok's amulet!
Whose amulet?
He is my deity, ruler of the Netherrealm, and soon destroyer of your Earthrealm.
What are you talking about?
This amulet, it is the key to Shinnok's power as an Elder God. When returned to him, he will regain his powers and be freed from the confines of the Netherrealm.
I thought Shao Kahn was the...
Shao Kahn is nothing but a peasant ruler of a long-dead realm. Shinnok is the destroyer of all realms, including Khan's outworld.
Destroyer of all realms. You are insane. That amulet isn't worth the bronze it's molded from.
Believe what you will, Sub-Zero. Goodbye, Ninja.
Do you realize what you've done?
I was just earning my living.
Your clan's ignorance and greed will cost this entire realm. You'll now have to set things straight.
Quan Chi could simply be a lunatic sorcerer. I never heard of an elder god named Shinnok, or of a place called the Netherrealm.
You better start believing in both, because you're going to the Netherrealm, and you're going to bring back the amulet. We must act quickly. I have no dominion in the Netherrealm. You are reality's only hope.
I'll do it, Thunder God. Only because I don't have a choice.
Then stand back. This is a portal into the Netherrealm. Once through, follow Quan Chi, and try to get the amulet before he gets to Shinnok. I also have this advice. Beware the Brothers of the Shadow. The Netherrealm is a place for lost souls. If you fail, your soul will join theirs, as well as all the souls in this entire realm.
So after all this, obviously fighting at the amulet, and then Quan Chi, now that the gods have been defeated, you know, he can just step on in, portal on in, and that was the thing with Quan Chi. You can just make portals wherever. So yeah, he just rocks up. He goes, "It's mine." The music's set up like a very dramatic thing. You know, the music in this game is phenomenal. Again, my favorite music in an MK game, except for like the 3D era games. Midway era MK music was so good. Again, another thing that has fell off so hard with this franchise. It's such a shame. But yeah, the amulet, obviously really cool. And this is basically its first showing, alongside MK4, of course. And I really like this scene. Again, it shows Quan Chi being burned, but also he gets a bit more serious here, you know, when he gets very mad about, like, claiming Shao Kahn, when Sub-Zero brings up Shao Kahn, and he's like, And he mentions how Shinnok's just a lot stronger. He is the greater threat. And that has been the thing. And it's another thing that's been forgotten. Shao Kahn is not as strong as MK Villain. Far from it. Every threat that come from him since has been a lot stronger. Like the Deadly Alliance. Quan Chi himself has been in a stronger position when he has the help of Shang Tsung. Once there is a duo together, they are stronger. So Shinnok, the Deadly Alliance, Onaga, Blaze. Of course, Blaze and the villain. I'd argue Dagon as well, because I think Taven could definitely beat Shao Kahn. I assume the same of Dagon. All these main villains afterwards. And of course, the boss of Blaze, who is not a villain, he's a hero, absolutely. They're all stronger than Kahn. And, Quan Chi brings a point. Of course, Quan Chi's a biased perspective, but it's not like Quan Chi is a Shinnok loyalist. He has his own plans, He takes his hand and he makes a fake out of it. So, yeah. He knows the threat of Shinnok. And he's like, hey, buddy, And Raiden knows the threat of Shinnok, of course. So he sends beyond to the Netherrealm. And it's followed up by two pretty cool cutscenes. One is much cooler than the other. One of which, this is where we get to the point where we have different things based on if you killed Scorpion or not. If you spare him, you get the cooler scene. If you kill him, you get punished for this, you get another boss fight with Scorpion. This time he has his fire powers, which is cool from a game perspective. But I think what's more interesting is the other interaction, but I will show you both right now.
He says escape is futile.
Who are you?
A lost soul. The guard is right, Where would you escape to? If you are here, then you must belong here. Rejected from your own realm, no doubt.
I wasn't rejected. I was sent.
Rejected or sent. You couldn't exist here unless your soul contained the impurities of evil.
Haven't you ever tried to escape, old man?
Escape. Oh, I'll be leaving this realm shortly. But first I must play Raiden's game.
Shinnok is portrayed by a man named Gary Wingert, who hasn't played any of MK character before or after. It's just specifically this Shinnok. I've used in a couple of scenes. This is a speaking role here, and it's the perfect voice for the character. I fucking love it. I love how he plays games with Sub-Zero. He's just messing around, You just think he's this old man, just this dude from the Netherrealm. But no, he is the fucking ruler, and this is why Shinnok's design is so cool. Like we all meme this image on with this face, this little smug look, but it's so perfect for Shinnok. And because you even have fans who underestimate characters based on their appearances. People will go, oh, the 3D air designs of characters look so bad. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And then this applies to Shinnok. People think Shinnok's lame because of his look. But no, his look makes him one of the most standout villains. He's the one main villain who doesn't have to rely on being this big brawling brute guy. He's fully magic based, and he still has martial arts experience, of course. But yeah, he's this ancient guy with more power than any other playable character. He's just been the same. He just disappears. He's just there to be like, hey, I know you just landed my realm. You're in a fucking veil. And the Prison of Souls is a really dope location. Great entrance around. And it plays off the law that Shinnok has changed the appearance of to match her from, because he likes the aesthetics of it. It's not really for anything else. He just likes how that realm looks, and that's cool. It gives him more character. We know more about his interests and stuff. And you see the futuristic, techie stuff that the Prison of Souls have. This version of the Netherrealm has, and it's basically its debut. Of course, we know about the Neverrealm by like MK3, but this is where we probably get to see a showcase of it in a way that we haven't seen since. And it's interesting. It's weird in a way, and one that isn't particularly explained. Like the explanation of like Shinnok chaining spirits makes sense, but how you get the high tech stuff is strange. You know, I don't think you just conjure up like high technology stuff, but there is like a potential explanation. Now, this is a headcanon. This is not something that's been confirmed, but it is an explanation. You know, like the Red Dragon, their character Shinnok, Dagon, and Shinnok have their thing going on in Armageddon. They could be supplying it everyone with these high technology stuff, which helps with the creation of prisoner souls and stuff like that. There is so much potential in exploring these areas, exploring Shinnok's relationships and stuff. Shinnok is one of my favorite villains, possibly my favorite villain. Him and Quan Chi both really, like from a personal standpoint, I just adore him, and especially in this game. I would love for more of this Shinnok. It's so perfect. But yeah, we do have an alternative thing where if you kill a Scorpion, you'll encounter a Scorpion instead.
Don't bother worrying about escape.
Who are you?
I am a dead man, but somehow you have retained your mortality, which would mean you are vulnerable to death. I am Scorpion. You killed me in cold blood.
I had no choice.
You could have let me live,
Then I would be the dead one.
but my clan and family would still be alive.
What?
It wasn't enough to kill me. You had to destroy every last remnant of my being, including my wife and child.
You're mistaken. Quan Chi is responsible for their deaths.
Words will not save you. Lin Kuei, warrior.
Now, as I mentioned before, you have the rematch for Scorpion size 5 powers and not stronger, which can also be contributed by the fact that the difficulty level increases. You know, you have to be medium or high to be in the Neverrealm. So yeah, you have to rematch, and like, yeah, it's cool how that stuff like debuted, and it's like, oh yes, Scorpion mistaken of what happened. You know, Behind has nothing to do with the death family and clan, but it did happen around the same time, so it all makes sense. However, you know, you have like MK1 that kind of treats it like that it's their first encounter since, but a lot of stuff from MK1 has changed as early as MK2, like Raiden's entire characterization changed for the better. So yeah, it's weird because when you have these multiple versions, there's another case of this that comes with Serena, which I'll get to. But we do know what's canonical there. Here it's weird because we know Scorpion definitely is killed canonically, but in terms of like the scene that happens here, it's unclear which is canonical, because we don't know if the encounter, like Sub-Zero and Scorpion have their own encounter again before MK1. That'd be a bit weird, or if, quite simply, you know, Shinnok fucks with him. And, you know, that's not really something you need to bring up as something that's happened since, because that's not really anything of note for either man. But yeah, I don't know. I prefer the Shinnok scene. But yeah, it's cool how you have different pathways and stuff. It just makes the game, it gives the game replayability. It gives you some additional like secret bosses and stuff. It's pretty cool. But yeah, the prison souls, a really cool area. I like the guards. As you can see, you got the regular guards, and then you got this big motherfucker who's the boss for this level. I think there's a lot of BS in, but again, it was a strategy. I think it's the one you slide under and stuff. Wasn't as hard as the Earth Guard, I didn't find, but it's similar in that regard. But yeah, it looks so fucking cool, you know. And I should clarify here, in Beyond Ceramic is escaped and he's knocked out, then he's brought to a prison, and that's what triggers the cutscenes. The cutscenes do not happen directly after the being sent to Neverrealm. There's a bit of the level beforehand. I thought I'd clarify that. You have all like these like spotlights and shit, like looking around for you in for escapees. Like, it's a crazy looking like setting and shit. And when you start making your escape, there is a dope ass track. The music in this game is phenomenal, as I said, but I will be playing this one in particular for you. So yeah, that's the escape theme for the Prisoner Souls. It starts with a different theme, which is also good. But, you know, it gets you pumping when you're fucking having to fight for these guys. And it's quite a difficult thing. You got like jump through platforms and stuff, of course. And part of this has involved a boss fight, which, you know, a big guy is basically saying he's the Earth God. His attacks are different stuff, but the strategy is basically the same because he's a big guy. And yeah, you'll notice the big guy bosses are the ones that are a lot more janky and shit, which makes sense, but you know, I can get what people frustrated about. But here is another criticism I have in this section. You have this elevator thing, and it's very cryptic on how you activate. You get the key card thing, and then like you need to like do a like specific input for it. I can't remember what it is, but I need a guide for it, I remember, because it's very unclear how you actually activate the elevators once you have what you need. I think the elevator stuff is pretty cool. It's just like there's nothing wrong with the design. It's just they didn't clarify how you activate them, and I was stuck on it for ages. But yeah, that's the only time I need a guide. But I will be honest, I did need a guide at one point in the game, which just once for a 90s game is pretty good. It's pretty consistent. So I understand what I'm doing. I can figure out my own strategies, my own tactics and stuff. So yeah, it's not this impossible bullshit game. It's doable. But yeah, you eventually escape the Prisoner Souls, which leads to the next level. This is the Bridge of Immortality, you know, the penultimate level to this game before you get to the Shinnok's Fortress. It's between the Prisoner Souls. It's a long-ass bridge, and it's got like multiple levels to it. It's not just like a straight bridge. You have more keeper enemies, or like they become the monks of just being like the generics that you find. And this one's interesting because you have 3 bosses now, and this becomes a thing with the final level. Well, the final level has 4 bosses actually. But yeah, let's get into those. Starting off with the most simple one, you have this big robot thing with like a flamethrower and that like yellow net thing you get trapped in when you're in the fights. Again, high-tech stuff, which is really cool. It's just obviously strange, but I love it. It's very unique. And yeah, he shoots a flamethrower. He's very easy. He's the easiest big boss to get through. You know, he's quite simple to beat. His flamethrower attack's easy to dodge. You can see here, like it extends quite far. You just need to get next to the flamethrower. Then they actually reused the model for another boss. But this one has a different weapon. It has like this machine gun thing. And this one's very bullshit. Okay, there's no denying it. This and the next boss I'll show you are very absurd. They're very annoying. Especially when you get knocked in the net. Let's say you get shot multiple times and you're knocked in the net. Does a ton of damage. It's really hard to avoid. And yeah, I struggled with this boss. But yeah, they're cool looking, but yeah, I did not have fun with this one, I will admit. Then you have this fucking keeper riding a dinosaur, mounted on the back of a fucking dinosaur. Dinosaurs being in Netherrealm actually makes sense because they're all wiped out, obviously. So the sinful dinosaurs go to the Netherrealm. So I kind of fucking vibe with this one as a boss. It's so goofy, it's so silly. You can't actually go under the legs, and it will just bite you, as you can see here. And blood goes everywhere, and it does a ton of damage. And with all these big bosses, you do just repeat the same process of hitting the jump kicks and shit. But they do vary in difficulty, and this one was very hard, and it took me a long time. This is the hardest boss in the game, in my opinion. Except, I guess, the Shinnok boss, which we'll get to, because that's not mandatory. Again, I like having the different options and shit. So I get that. But yeah, you do get through bridges. Not to say all the level design stuff. The Bridge of Immortality is cool. Yeah, obviously, because it's just a bridge, there's not much to it. But there are layers, as I've said. You got different platforms and stuff. But it's mainly just like fighting through enemies as you cross the bridge. And then you get to the final level, which an hour 15 minutes in, I finally get to talk about Shinnok's Fortress. And the fortress is actually located within this pyramid thing. Shinnok has another location. It's called Shinnok Spire in Armageddon, which is also a really dope area. This one's cool too. And obviously you go through the Bridge of Immortality to get here. You got the sea thing. I think it's just red because of the lighting. I don't know. The Sea of Blood wasn't a thing until Deception. and that was an outward location. As an outward location appears Shadow Monks, then it becomes a Netherrealm location MK11. So being a Netherrealm area is new to MK11. But yeah, this is a cool area, the pyramid of Shinnok. And you see it here, and there are some more cutscenes to look at though, relating to this pyramid that we'll discuss.
Well, he's definitely immortal. His soul is still contained inside his body.
A mortal can't exist here with his soul intact.
Unless Shinnok allowed it to be.
I'll inform Quan Chi. The two of you continue to track him.
Now here we are introduced to the Demon Ladies, the Brotherhood of Shadow notable members in this game at least. There's more coming later, including Noob himself. In the middle you have Kia with the high-tech binoculars, because why not? To the right you have Mitaka, and to the left you have Serena, who becomes playable in later games. Tournament Edition and Armageddon especially. Tournament Edition follows up on what happens to her in these games, and it's why it confirms one of the outcomes, because you do have a choice of killing her or sparing her late in the game, and sparing her is the canonical thing, which we will cover all of it. But yeah, this is happening during the Bridge of Immortality thing, because I watched him cross it. So yeah, and then it leads to this Pyramid of Shinnok stuff, which I'll show you now.
Sir, a mortal has escaped from the prison of souls. He is headed towards the Sea of Immortality.
Immortal?
Yes, immortal, with the ability to freeze.
Alert the keepers and send a full garrison to intercept. Make sure that he does not cross the bridge.
The keepers? But he's just immortal.
Do not question me, Serena. And more importantly, do not fail. We have toyed with the ninja long enough.
Again, that cutscene, we get to see Quan Chi get serious, being the boss of the Brotherhood of Shadow members. The Brotherhood of Shadow is more of Quan Chi's faction, but they're all worshippers of Shinnok. So, of course, at the end of the day, Shinnok is the higher power. But Quan Chi is essentially the person in charge of them. But obviously, if Quan Chi does a fucky-wucky, then Shinnok's going to be pissed. But that's why they address Quan Chi and not Shinnok. So yeah, these three are really cool. They don't get much in this game, of course. You got Tournament Edition expands on Serena a lot. Serena's more prominent in that you see her have this interaction with Quan Chi, and then she's later relevant for like the Quan Chi boss fight. Whereas Ki and Jitaka, you do get to fight them, but they don't get the same opportunity. They don't get to be in the games, which is kind of unfortunate. Because when you look at this, all three of them are about as minor as each other. Kia just gets that extra scene if you spare her. So yeah, all three could work as playable characters. So I do find it to be a shame that Serena's the only one who's become playable, and thus is the one who gets a lot of attention, which Serena deserves. But it would be cool to have Ki and Jitaka return. They do appear in Armageddon as conquest bosses, because they're still with the Brotherhood of Shadow, and Serena's back with the Brotherhood of Shadow, which is really dumb. That's a whole other thing unrelated to this, but there is an explanation for it. It's just a bad one, because Armageddon is a bit messy. I'm not gonna lie, as much as I like it. So yeah, these three are cool. I'm a fan, and again, it's another highlight of Mythologies, having these new characters who you can use in your own stories or have been used in other stories. In the case of Serena, so yeah, and of course that scene with Serena and Quan Chi relates to the Bridge of Immortality. That's why there's so many forces there, because Serena sends all those forces at Quan Chi's behest. So yeah, he's taking the threat of Sub-Zero a bit more serious now, because the Prince Salt is very well protected, so you escaped that. That's impressive. No, I didn't actually mention these guys really looking executioner keeper guys, so a lot of them carry axes, you see. They've been around since the first Neverwhelm novel. but I haven't got to show you until now. In this image of Shinnok's fortress, you know, these like the main corridors and stuff. You have these elevators, so again, using some like technology stuff. And these marbled areas, you got the Brother of the Shadow logos on the walls. They look very cool, and you know, it looks like a final level, you know, and you've got all this build to this final level, and it does feel intense because you've got a lot of bosses. There's a lot to do. So yeah, we're gonna cover the boss fights in particular because there's 3 of them, so I will jump straight to them. There are a lot of enemies, and again, it's one of those ones with different floors, different elevators. Kind of the water temple in a way, but done much better. Much more interesting, of course. And the setting's just very cool. But yeah, the goal is to find Quan Chi's sanctuary, which is of course a part of the fortress. And that will lead into the Quan Chi boss fight. But to get to it, you need these crystal things you need to summon to go to the sanctuary. I'll show you the gameplay itself here. You can see the walls, the patterns are different, so it helps distinguish the floors of a different area. And at the end of each like corridor, you know, you will get a different demon lady boss fight. You know, going up here, I'll show you this arena one. And again, you have the different patterns on the wall, as you can see here. But yeah, you go through, and yeah, you even have these traps. You know, you jump through them. Like these are a recurring thing, of course, these obstacles to the platform and stuff. But you just need to strategize and you have to be patient. And when you enter these rooms, they look really cool because you got like these Shinnok statues around you. And then you fight Serena here, who's Jordan Kama, which she then does later on. And yeah, you just get to do it. You know, you got your save point here. You get a boss fight. They're smaller bosses, so they're not too difficult, you know. And a few attempts. Yeah, she has some cool attacks like spinning around a camera, which is pretty crazy. And yeah, you beat her, you get like the option to spare. Now I'm going to reach to the boss's range of difficulty, but I will show you this. I talk about so she has like this big laser sword, shoots lasers, you can see there. Again, no specific strategy. She doesn't have much fun when I find with her moves. I like the sword stuff. She's very cool. My favorite costume as well of the 3. The one I feel is the least sexualized. So yeah, Jataka's very fucking cool here. So it's cool to see like her moves, especially with Jataka and Kia, due to them not being any playable roles. Of course, soon gets a lot more unique stuff, including like a demon fang blade in Armageddon. But yeah, you can do them in any order, but like they. You know, the floors are on different floors. You probably do in the order of the floor. But yeah, they're quite easy to beat. You don't get like the spare option. These unfortunately their bodies just kind of like disintegrate. I don't think I wouldn't have shown it because I've shown a lot of gameplay footage. But yeah, the female, you get like this key thing. And yeah, it was a green blood. That's what they bleed, the demons in this, I guess. Another thing that's been lost, but you know, fair enough because that is kind of weird. Of course, I think different coloured blood is a charming aspect of MK. But yeah, it's a thing. And here we have Kia, who has like this like spinning boomerang razor thing, which is pretty crazy. I think she'll show in a moment. But again, they're quite simple to beat and stuff. Like Kia will attack at a range, and yeah, she's probably the easiest actually. Really, yeah, she's just not doing much. Oh, there we are, hopping off. Do something. Yeah, there we are. That's what I'm talking about. It's like this blade, like it just goes around and it comes around. It's like a boomerang. It goes crazy. So yeah, that's the 3 bosses. As well as you get all the crystals. Each one has their own. Serena, I believe, is the middle one. Thank you, Chaka, their own one, and they all connect. It's really loud. We've got a cutscene playing after this. So I'll let you listen to.
Welcome to my home, Sub-Zero.
If you're still looking for the amulet, you can find it at the pyramid's apex, around Shinnok's neck. You've arrived a little late.
I was busy.
Don't you realize why Raiden sent you? The Netherrealm is a place for evil beings. You cannot exist here unless you were tainted with evil. You belong here. Join my brothers of the Shadow and worship our Lord Shinnok.
Never, sorcerer.
Then, so it shall be, ninja.
It's a brilliant scene between these two before their fight, of course, been built to by the multiple interaction with Quan Chi. Quan Chi is handled so brilliantly as a villain. It's fun, but also he's clearly a threat. And what he talks about is so fucking good. You know, mentioning how, hey, your soul's tainted and whatnot, so Rain sent you here because of the misdeeds he's done working for the Lin Kuei. And of course, Sub-Zero, you know, he's doing a good deed here trying to help Raiden. But of course, he's still a grey area of morality, but he's not actually evil, you know. But despite what Quan Chi's saying, because obviously Quan Chi's trying to make him think that, because Quan Chi is evil. Bi-Han's not evil. It's very fucking simple storytelling. But what makes the scene like 10 out of 10, and this is unintentional, of course, because this is what's established multiple years later, 2004, with Deception and Noob Smoke's ending, establishing that Noob Saibot is the original Sub-Zero. Noob Saibot, who is a Brotherhood of Shadow member, and is what Bi-Han has become. So when Quan Chi's talking about join the Brotherhood of Shadow and worship our Lord Shinnok, and Bi-Han says never, it's so perfect because he does end up joining unwillingly and as Noob Saibot, but he does join. And I think that's brilliant because it's not like this. It's not intended to be relating to Noob. Again, this was already established in 2004. John Tobias, not a writer then. But it shows the geniusness of like old MK and like the 3D era especially on connecting these really old things. I mean, this would have been really old at this point. It would have been less than a decade old. But, you know, multiple years ago, multiple games ago, and you revisit this specific scene and you give it this newfound context. And it's so good. It's really good storytelling. And you do not see MK do it anymore. You know, you see MKX, you set up this Dark Raiden stuff. MK11, he's dead by the end of chapter 1. You know, they can't do long-term storytelling because they can't even set up their next game and then follow through with what they set up. Meanwhile, you've got a fucking Deception just established this thing that I don't know if it was even intentional or not, but it connects to this scene so well. And the scene about that is just very good. It's very good villain writing. It's good dialogue for Quan Chi. So yeah, onto the boss fight and the aftermath. Because if you spare Serena, you only need a deal. Take half his health. So it's actually quite an easy boss fight, assuming you don't kill Serena for no reason. Because this is what happens. So fine, he does his typical stuff. This isn't like a amazing showing of like Quan Chi's like powers and stuff, which doesn't surprise me. But it's cool to see like the sprite of Quan Chi, you know, to see him in like this trilogy style, digitalized actor art style, you know, because obviously we don't see it from him since. You know, Singer is the Fujin, but Quan Chi especially, and it looks really cool in the MK4 outfit. Really cool design for him. And yeah, he's not the trickiest boss. I will say, you know, we talk about how difficult Mythologies is, but look here, look at this gameplay, you know, destroyed. And you get into a certain health, and Serena just shows up, goes through the portal, and just has enough for his shit, wipes him out. Boom! And, you know, of course, about the Serena thing, you get a certain ending that doesn't involve Serena, but Serena adds to a different ending, and we'll show it now, of course.
Why did you help me?
You are still immortal. That means you can escape the Netherrealm.
There won't be anywhere to go if I don't get the amulet back.
Take me with you. I've waited an eternity to escape.
You don't understand. I can't leave without you.
You've done it now. You've gone and made a big mistake. Shinnok is fantasy Serena. Also, you see Quantity like fucking die, like launch off that platform thing. I don't know what's going on with his sanctuary. I don't know why he just has a big pit at the bottom of it. It's quirky, and of course he explodes because MK bosses, you know, it's quirky stuff, and you can judge the legitimacy of it, like I have with other stuff, like Scorpion having his head ripped off. I don't know if that's exactly how Sub-Zero would have killed him in canon, but Quantity dies here regardless, and that's the thing. He's a demon. Serena's also a demon, and Serena is reforms naturally in Tournament Edition because that's what happens with demons. Quantity is a demon. If Quantity dies, he just comes back. Scorpion killing Quantity does fuck all MKX. And yes, so Shinnok just gives no fucks, just kills her. And people misinterpreted that scene with Beyond Serena, and they ship him. They ship him as a couple. And the thing is, Serena just wants his help to get out. And they were literally fighting each other not long ago, and Bihon presumably killed her friends. So yeah, they're not exactly romantically compatible, are they? It's not a good ship. But I am interested in them becoming friends. It's nice to see that Bihon clearly would have helped Serena if given the chance, as Serena helped him. But as he tries explaining, he needs the amulet. He needs a gateway out of here. And Shinnok has just that. And this leads into a Shinnok boss fight. But yes, we make memes about this smug face, but he does it after just casually murdering Serena. It's such good character work. It's so perfect. Again, I'm going to show you gameplay for this one. And with this, you gotta go between these paws and you gotta freeze Shinnok from behind. He creates a force field in front of you, and he has to use core projectiles. He's quite tricky. This is where some real challenge comes getting this. Yeah, you can't do damage to him because he just protects himself. That's how strong his magic is. Shinnok is, again, as I said, I believe he's the strongest magic user, and this is a perfect display of it. Here he comes. And look at levitating around. It's very cool. Oh yeah, you can just freeze him like that. How do you need to rush to him? You ideally need to get him in the middle and take the portal, go to the other side. To get to the other side of him, and then you need to snatch the amulet off of him. Yeah, so yeah, it does take a while. Yeah, it's a cool challenge. You know, I know. Is when you get it. But yeah, you need to snatch it off him once you're frozen. There we go. Go through the portal. And you yoink it. And he gets a bit angry. He yoinks this crazy ass monster which never shows up again. Like that one's a bit quirky. And you see in the inventory you have the amulet. And this will lead to our final cutscene here, guys.
Here. The amulet.
Impressive, Sub-Zero. Perhaps you'll reconcile your reckless past after all.
That's it? Not even a thank you?
Thank yourself for undoing a problem that you created.
Quan Chi told me that you sent me because my soul was tainted with evil. Is that true?
You are a superb warrior, Sub-Zero. Only you can control your destiny. Not even the gods can alter your chosen path in life.
Was that a yes? Or a no?
That was a yes. But only you can change it.
I vow to serve and obey the Lin Kuei.
Welcome back, my warrior. I have a new undertaking for you. It seems your exploits have caught the eye of another sorcerer. I would like you to meet the retainer of your services. His name is Shang Tsung, and he would like you to compete in a small tournament. It's called Mortal Kombat.
And so marks the great, fantastic ending of Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero. A lengthy game, you have multiple levels and there's a lot to do in them, and quite lengthy, partially because of the difficulty, I have to retry stuff. But also there is just a lot of kind of lengthy levels, and something like the water will get repetitive, but they're all uniquely designed, they all feel different from each other, they have different enemies, they have a variety of bosses, even though there is some old jank. The platforming isn't the greatest, the traps can get annoying and stuff. But I don't put it down to this game. Well, I feel that there's tons of old games that are just like this. They just have that natural BS. And I think with Mythologies Sub-Zero, you become skilled enough, you become knowledgeable enough on strategizing and stuff, and then it becomes more fun, it becomes satisfying when you beat things. And yeah, overall, I think it's a great experience, particularly for its story and its cutscenes. Like it has a major impact on Mortal Kombat and its lore. And I think it deserves being praised for that, if nothing else. You can dislike the gameplay. That's your taste. That's fine. But I think it's very well made, and it was a success. It did get good sales. Critically, I don't think it was ever well acclaimed, but this wasn't a failure. Unfortunately, we just didn't see more Mythologies games. I don't specifically know why. Maybe it was because it wasn't well received critically, but I think it's time to change that. I think it's time to look at Mythologies Sub-Zero and look at it in a more positive light. I think the people who have played this game and they know a lot about it and they care about the lore, they do respect this game, but a lot, and the majority of the fans, think this game is an atrocity with no redeeming qualities, and it's just fundamentally not true. And I'm happy I could finally make this video. I started recording this with my battery at full, and now it's nearly flat, so I'm gonna end the video there. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.